Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. And now your hosts, John DePietro and Bob Zagami.
Oh, where'd you go, DePietro?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Good evening.
There we go.
Welcome.
Well, I don't know if it's evening. It's evening for the live audience, but we don't know if it's evening for others. But nevertheless, Bob, we're here.
We're here. It's RVing in New England. It's Wednesday night.
Live broadcasting always throws a couple challenges your way.
Yeah, we had a couple of little hiccups there earlier.
I'm working off my cell phone, and one of our guests is without power in Lexington, Kentucky. But you know what? Look it. You roll with the punches. That's what it is. And
That's it.
We're not going to fake it like the people at Weather Channel when there's no wind at all, and they fake like there's wind. And
they roll around in the mud before they go live to make them think that they were caught up in the storm.
You know what? It's hard to believe that we're virtually in the middle of August, and for the official summertime. I know there are kids down in Kentucky that are already back in school. But there are a couple of news events that, we've got some great guests tonight, and they're going to be with us in just a couple of minutes. But there are some news topics that we need to discuss and see if our guests have any comments on. And that is the fact that the Canadian-U.S. border, and I say border singularly, not plurally, because right now, as of yesterday, you can go from the U.S. to Canada. And as we had said earlier, there were people lined up in Buffalo. They were lined up in St. Albans, Vermont. They were lined up at the Thousands Island Bridge to sample some of that Canadian hospitality. But Bob, what do you think of the fact that the U.S. hasn't reciprocated and allowed Canadians to come to America yet?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's open borders in the south and it's closed borders in the north. So open them up, get vaccinated, and let them come in. If we can go there, they ought to be able to come here. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, exactly. But there are implications. The name of the show is RVing in New England, and the town that you're in right now, Old Orchard Beach, Maine, is very dependent upon those Canadians coming there. And you can tell when you go to the beach at Old Orchard whether the Canadians are there yet, based upon the number of Speedo bathing suits.
That's correct. They are missing from the Old Orchard Beach landscape this year.
Yep. That doesn't just impact Pier Fries, but it impacts the restaurants, the grocery stores, the gas stations, the places in Portland and everywhere else around there. And I think that's maybe our audience wants to chime in on that if they are planning on going to Canada to sample the hospitality up there. We're heading up to Saratoga, New York this weekend, and I was thinking of going up there, but I know you got to get another COVID test, even though I've got vaccinations and certificates that show that. But just maybe our guest would maybe want to comment on that and see if there's any.
Why don't you introduce our stellar guests tonight? It's going to be a very interesting program.
Our stellar guests it's interesting how we became known to them. And ironically, when we were down at the AC Marriott Hotel in Worcester, which is general managed by our good friend Mary Simone, Mary told me that, her former neighbor started this RV company, but he moved out of Shrewsbury and down to Kentucky. His name is Philip Pietrowski. And somehow his cell phone still had the 508 area code on it. So I was able to track him down. And they have put together, along with his colleague Brenton Jones, a great company called Rescue My RV. And basically, it has more relevance now than ever before because of the fact that there are so many new RVers that are hitting the road that even a minor breakdown can throw a major monkey wrench into their travel plans because, they don't know the difference between a deaf tank, a gray tank, and a black tank. So a membership with Rescue My RV can solve those problems. And if you would open the border, Bob, between Kentucky. There is a border between Kentucky and Virginia and Tennessee, but we're going to let them right up here to New England right now. And if you put the proper buttons,
There you go.
Oh.
Gentlemen.
Phil Pietrowski and Brenton Jones. Welcome to RVing in New England.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
So, Philip, did you get your electricity back?
We did. They got the squirrel back on the little wheel there, and we are got power in Kentucky again.
We were saying the fact that it's a large world and a small world. The fact that you lived over in Shrewsbury for so many years before heading down south, and Brenton, you guys are both in Lexington, right? Not to be confused with Louisville.
No.
Don't make that mistake.
They have.
Is Louisville on the wrong side of the tracks?
Yeah, in all kinds of ways. If you're down there, you would know. You don't confuse the two. So it goes deep, and
Lexington is horse country, right?
Yeah.
But the horses that are bred in Lexington are run in Louisville.
Once a year.
That first weekend in May.
Yep.
Right.
In May. So, guys, welcome to RVing in New England. Tell us in a nutshell. You just bumped into somebody in an elevator, and you've got, you're on the first floor. You're only going to the 7th floor. So, Brent, tell us what Rescue My RV is, because you only got 6 floors to do it.
Okay. I guess the easiest way to do it, and we have no affiliation with them, would be kind of an Angie's List for RV owners. So essentially, we built a network of over 3,000 tow companies, repair shops, and mobile technicians across the country. And it's a membership-based concept. So we have members that sign up whenever they have a problem. Repair shops and mobile technicians across the country. Wow, I've got a lot of feedback or a lot of echo there. So whenever somebody's out traveling and they experience a problem, whether it's something small or if it's going to be major, whatever, if it stops them in their tracks, then they have our network that they can rely upon. So we've got 24/7 call center that's US based, and we put them in touch with the highest rated, closest, whatever they need. So if it's a tow company, then we've got those people. So what we did was we spent months calling every one of these, researching, getting references, and building this network of people that are experienced and trained in the RV industry. And the vast majority of them are RVers themselves. So what we kept hearing before we this idea was percolating was we were hearing from the RV community about all the problems that they're having with, I guess, the companies that are at their disposal now. And, whether it's the insurance stuff or kind of quasi-insurance things, where they're getting, you'll get a free tow within a certain amount of miles, but it may be the wrong person. They come in and they mess up your rig. Or I've called and nobody answered, or it's 4 hours later and I'm still on the side of the road. So we kind of took those ideas. We've had focus groups and talking with, tow company associations and that kind of stuff. And we put together this network that really is centered around the RV community and their experiences. So the whole idea was, if my mom had an RV and she's driving, what's going to happen when she breaks down? And that's guided us from day one. As my dad passed away a number of years ago. She's on her own. She doesn't know anything. She's going to go with the first person that comes along.
Yep.
And
person.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard from, and Philip has too, from people that are in the industry that were traveling, and something would happen. I just heard from one in Mississippi yesterday, and she was traveling. They didn't know who to call, and they were protected by one of the larger companies. And they called and called and called, and nobody ever answered. So they had to get a ride to a hotel, stay the night, find out somebody in the morning, that kind of stuff. So,
how did the seed of this idea germinate? Were you an experienced RVer to begin with? What caused you to look at this particular business and this industry?
Well, I've got a background in starting companies, and the ones in the past have been technology based, and so I've started them, grown them, sold them, a couple of them, and I've got a few left. counting this one. Yeah, well, I've got 3 counting this one. So this one's not technology based, but it has a core component of that. So Philip and I are parents to swimmers that swim all year, the competitive club swimming and all that stuff. So being the good dads that we are, we're there waiting for practice to end. And,
if I can jump in, the truth is my kids are on the same swim team, and there's this guy who's wearing a Yankees hat. And I'm like, this guy is an ass. He's got to be an ass. And so I just started talking to him, and I was right, to be honest. But he did. I also have a business, Faithful Parking. We were talking about that, and then one day Brent's like, hey, I've got this idea, and just kind of threw out the concept. It was like, he is a Yankees fan. I'm an ass.
I'm willing to overlook that.
Yeah, I'm willing to overlook this because it's a good idea.
Also, Philip, keep in mind one thing that we have, even though it says RVing in New England, we do have a national audience. Some of them may be New Yorkers. And you don't.
I love the Yankees.
Yeah.
I love the Yankees. They're the best.
Diminish your opportunity for a sale for people
Right.
etc. But you know what? The big question that I know that our guests would have is, what is the difference between this and Good Sam, AAA, CoachNet, all the other quote unquote brand name programs that are out there? How do you separate yourself from them?
Well, we don't, when we started with this concept, it was, okay, what's out there right now? And we saw all those names that you talked about. So we researched, like, what exactly do they do? And there seemed to be a gap in there. So it was, yeah, I may be protected for, here are the restrictions or the limitations of my protection. And if something happens, I might slip through the cracks there. Or they might give me somebody that doesn't really know that much. Or I've heard from tow companies where it's, somebody had to wait 4 or 5 hours for a tow. I talked to the tow companies and they say, well, yeah, because we have to go at a reduced rate for these guys. And I'm going to go to the full paying ones first. So we started seeing all of these stories and it was, I think there's something missing here. And that really came, what about, and that whole Angie's List thing was in the back of my mind, not to plug them or anything. I have nothing to do with them, but the concept of, I want to create a network here that is, because I've done that in the technology space before, that where these people are rated all the time. And we're constantly, on top of that, like if we get, negative reviews about somebody, then they drop down in the list and the next person, number 2 now becomes number 1 and that kind of stuff. So we're constantly monitoring this. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to give somebody that's out there, that's in the most vulnerable situation they can be, on the side of the road, broken down. We got to get them somebody that's going to get there quickly and fix it and not charge them a fortune.
So
Okay.
have you incorporated that rating system into Rescue My RV?
Yes, because that was so bringing some of the tech piece into it from my background, we had to figure out a way to, because there may be somebody out there that has a 5-star rating on Google and they've got 10 reviews and you think, okay, that's great. But they may end up being friends and family that did those reviews. So you don't know who you're going to get. So it took us a while to kind of come up with an algorithm that's going to give us that information. Mm-hmm. And so we took a number of criteria and we reached out to the RVing community with our focus groups and said, all right, what's important to you guys? And, over and over we heard, we don't really care about all the other stuff. I just need help when I need it. I don't know who to call and get through to somebody right away. And that's half the battle, really. I know they want to get off the road and that's important, but if somebody's not going to answer the phone or you get the runaround, then, what good is it really?
And Brent, one that I thought that was important in your program is that I have been in a situation where I have called one of the big companies that I was a member of, and I say MA, and they think I'm in Maine. Massachusetts is MA, et cetera. But what it boils down to is they have absolutely no clue where I am. And they could be attempting, and so many times, even with my car service, where the person at the other end of the phone had no idea where the town was that I was stranded in, and tried to send somebody from long far away. And that's not what you need at this stage. Now, Philip, you spent a lot of time in Massachusetts. Were you ever into the RV scene, or did this come to you later?
This came to me later through the other business, Faithful Parking. Kind of got my feet wet in the RV world, and since then, that's kind of somehow that's been my life. That's where I've ended up, and it's weird how things happen, but I love it. I love working with the RVers. We spent pretty much the entire COVID lockdown calling thousands and thousands of providers, and just kind of hearing different stories and kind of explaining what we're doing, and getting to know even better the kind of repair towing world, and kind of hearing some of the horror stories from various tow companies with the big rigs and stuff. How we had somebody sitting there for hours and hours. Somebody came out and they destroyed. They didn't disconnect the air brakes or the drivetrain, and suddenly they're looking at $10,000, $20,000 worth of damage. And kind of explaining, hey, here's what we're doing, and they're like, that's fantastic. And so that really helped drive us in building that network.
Bill, go back just a little bit on that, because one of the things that's different with what you're doing is you have members, and you've joined NERVDA so that you can go directly to our dealers, and hopefully we'll have a lot of NERVDA dealers signing up and offering this to the consumer. Now, when the consumer needs let's say they're in the middle of Texas and they call up and they get a tow truck, you don't make anything off of that, right? You are the vehicle that gets them to a qualified respondent, and then they pay that respondent. So they get their full rate, which they should do. And you're right. All of these roadside service, most of them are brokering their service through somebody else. They're not sitting there with 3,000 technicians or 25 service shops under their own belt. So kind of explain the fabric of that.
Well, what we did, it's people these companies are geared towards helping RVs, or they have the equipment and they enjoy doing that. They are kind of willing to work with us. A lot of times, when they hear, hey, this is a Rescue My RV member, they may or may not, but a lot of times people have said, hey, since it is Rescue My RV, and we know who you guys are, we know your customers are pre-screened, we were able to cut our rates. You're not going to pay full book, which can be higher, but you are getting the best quality, and that's really what's important to us. I mean, we wanted to make sure that when somebody calls us, they know they're going to be treated with respect. They're getting our U.S.-based call center, and it all works out. I mean, that's really what has been the joy in building this company.
So
let me just, John, before you do that, let me just not ignore our audience. Frank Cates is on from Cape Cod. Ryan Hadley, he's an independent mobile technician here.
There's some news about Ryan that may want. This is appropriate time to mention that.
That's right. Ryan has just been certified level 1 through the RV Technical Institute, and he is now on the road to level 2. And what's interesting about this, and this is one of the things that gets us excited about this industry and trying to reach out to independent mobile technicians. Ryan had 20 plus years of service on RVs. He worked with his dad in the auto repair business, and he specialized in the RVs and the trucks that came in. So passing level 1 was duck soup for this guy. So we need more guys like Ryan in building up that big network out there. So congratulations on level 1, Ryan. I'm sure it won't be too long before you get up there with level 2. Frank Cates says, my favorite Cape Cod campground was not to have Canadians at their site. Oh, they were sad because they didn't have Canadians at the site this year.
That was our
used to hearing campers. Jerry Plant, good evening from Arrowhead Marina and RV Park in Schenectady. Sounds like you are on your way home, Mr. Plant. It's been an interesting trip following your adventures down there. Maria, good evening.
Ask Jerry. Let me ask Jerry because I just took over here. Jerry, are you going to Saratoga? way, can we meet you? Have you buy me a drink in Saratoga on Saturday?
He has to buy you a drink, or you have to buy him a drink.
Well, that was just checking to see if anybody was listening to my statements. I would.
Oh, I'm sure Jerry was listening to your statements. Maria says, "Good evening from Goshen, Indiana." Hello, Maria.
Where is she?
On Hawes down at the Red. I don't know if he's still down at the ranch in Texas at the National RV Training Academy. Walter Swenson, good evening all, and James Conboy from New England RV Roof.
Now, Bob, let's look at something very, very interestingly here. There's 5 comments in a row, or 5 out of 6 comments in a row. Jerry Plant, Don and Pat Hawes, Walter Swenson, and well, actually not really Walter, but Jim Cumber. These are people that are all involved in some type of repair service.
Right. Right.
In the industry. And you know what? They've never seen business like this. I know Jerry can't keep up with his inspections, and our rescue guys have really hit the right time to be here with the number of new campers. And I know when I stopped at Major's RV just a couple weeks ago, actually Jerry was on vacation, but when I talked with Chris and David, they said the number of rookie questions that come in, are amazing.
John, I've got two screens for you in the lobby. Do you still have your computer on? I think that's where your feedback's coming from.
I just started again. It wasn't doing it for a while.
Can you shut one of them off, either the phone or the computer, because that's going to give you some feedback.
I'm going to turn the phone off because
see if the
comments.
See if you can hear us. Yeah, you can read the comments there. Don says, yes, we're still in Athens, Texas. He's handling reservations at the Texan RV Park. He's a work camper. Sandy Ellingson, heading your way for Frog Rally next week. Heading our way, Sandy? Where is the? Oh, she must mean Elkhart. Yeah, for the Frog Rally. Dante is on. Good evening, Dante. And Jerry is headed down to New London, Connecticut. So, all right, back to Rescue My RV. How long have you actually had the company?
This was it was last year when the idea just kind of came to us, and we really started. We went live this year, at the beginning of this year, but we were doing all the prep work before that for the better part of 2020. Mm-hmm. So that kind of worked out. Being stuck at home and that kind of thing, so we could just make calls to all these people and start building this network.
Yeah, John, we're getting feedback. There's no picture of you, John, and we're getting feedback. Thought that was right. John, can you see us?
I hear you. I'm trying to turn this off.
So you're getting. Right.
Here we go.
I think you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you got it. Okay. So let's talk how the dealers can use. Why is this program attractive to dealers? Because it's a supplemental program. Give us some examples of some of the way that your dealers that you've signed up already. And I know you don't have any in New England yet. That's why you joined NERVDA. So we're going to hopefully get you some dealers here in New England. But give us some aspects on how the dealers are using it to their advantage to provide better services for the customers.
Well, I think probably, and this was, as we were going down that road, it was, we started to notice a pattern, and it's consistent with everyone that we've talked to, every dealer. So somebody comes in, they buy a new or used RV, and they hit the road. So they go out, wherever they're going. Let's say it's in Kentucky, because that's where we are. And they go out west, and something happens. And whether they've got any kind of roadside assistance or not all of them do this, but a large percentage of them the first call they make is to the dealership. And they're not just calling the service people, they're calling the salesperson, they're calling the F&I person, anybody that will answer the phone. to the point where it's a major distraction for the dealers. And so the way we fit with the dealers is we're kind of in between the dealers and the customers. So we handle all of the calls, because if you're going to call the dealer, if they, they'll tell you, if you can make it back here, we're happy to fix it. We'll get you in or what have you. But, you're in Texas and we're in Kentucky, right? So I can't really do anything other than look up. I don't know, and most likely I don't know anybody around where you are. So I'm just going to do a Google search of somebody that can come out there and help you. So now I've got a technician that should be working on an RV, and now they're taking time to handle this phone call and get on the computer and try to find somebody down there for them. And sometimes, you've got things to do that you were paid to do, and it's you forget to call them back, or you don't have the time to answer the calls or what have you. So now you've got somebody stuck on the side of the road, and not only is it, it's a major inconvenience for them, but it's starting to negatively impact sometimes the way people are looking at the dealer. And even though it's not the dealer's fault or the dealer's responsibility, the customer bought it there and they're thinking, okay, I need your help. And, they don't really know any more than you do at that point. They can sometimes help diagnose it over the phone, but, they can't physically go there. So we play that role of in between there, where they're calling our call center, they're telling them where they are, and they're finding somebody close. If they're in Wyoming, there's not anybody really close probably, but just because there's not very many people there. But let's just say Texas in this example. We had one happen that I heard about a couple of months ago, and it was in Fort Worth, and the exact same scenario. He goes down there, a line came, he was in the shower, the line came loose, got on the control panel, he started seeing smoke. He said, I'm not going to drive this anywhere until I get this fixed. Called us and, called our call center, and they got a technician that was supposed to go to Arlington and that morning and decided, okay, you're in need right now. Pushed that off and went over to and helped them out. So they got there about 9:00 and they were fixed by noon. And so then when they actually because they had to be down there for a wedding, when they got back to Kentucky, they went and got the permanent repairs. So that's the concept for us. Instead of calling them and saying, hey, can you help me? Okay, yeah, let me take some time and find somebody. Maybe I get somebody good, maybe I don't. They know that using us, we've got people that they're completely vetted, and we keep an eye on them all the time. So that's the major piece that we see from them, is that it frees up, the manpower that they've got, whether it's, office staff or the service department, parts department, whoever they happen to call. Now they've got a place to call. And that's the biggest concern for a lot of people is, they're not used to that. They're new. And what do I do? And
plus, Brent, there's got to be some peace of mind for the recipient of the service that the company that's coming to work on them, again, has been vetted and has met a certain degree of standards, as opposed to just wondering. Here's an example. I had an issue with a generator and called through the company that makes the generator, and it said this is a factory authorized place. I called them, and when the tech showed up, the first words out of his mouth were, gee, I never worked on an RV before. Yeah. What degree of confidence would that elicit to me as the end user?
Right.
Okay.
And that goes back to what I was saying, just picture my mom or anybody's mom, if they're still with you, or anybody you care about on the side of the road. What are they going to do? It's like that was really the genesis of this entire thing. It's got to be about customer service, because that seems to be lacking across the board. And
No question.
What happens if a customer buys a new coach and they do buy an extended warranty or service agreement from the dealer? How do you work with that extended company? What gives the consumer the motivation to call you? So I would think if the dealers provide your service as part of their F&I package, whether it's a reduced price or whether they include it in the price of the unit, how do you explain to the customer that you call Rescue My RV, but not the extended warranty company? Or am I misunderstanding?
No, that's a good question. So what we do is we're an enhancement of those extended warranties. So we're not competing with that kind of concept.
I didn't think so.
Any good company that is in that business is going to allow you to have work done by anybody that's licensed. So they leave that up to you. So that's where we come into play, is that, okay, if you're in a pinch and you need something right now, maybe it's covered, maybe it's not. We tell them it would be a good idea to check with them, but you don't have to waste time waiting for that kind of approval on that thing. We have technicians and repair shops that work with them, the extended warranty companies. So that's not an issue. But even if it's not covered, or if you think it's covered and you can't get them on the phone, you call us and we take care of it, and then you go get reimbursed by it. Yeah. So that's the concept. Our company is not designed to have your RV in the driveway and you just feel like getting an upgrade on something, or I need to change something out. It's really, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, or it's nighttime and I'm on a highway and it's like, I've got to get fixed.
And as the name implies, rescue is kind of an emergency situation,
right?
To get you safely off that highway and to somewhere else. And Brent, I would imagine, and Philip as well, there are circumstances where you've kind of been in both situations where you needed to get the person home so they could make a permanent repair at either their local dealership or a service center that was closer to home, when they weren't trying to get a vacation in at the same time. Does that sound right?
Yeah. And the idea behind this was, we're not trying to poach service from dealers or that kind of stuff. So we want you to have those done. It's just the example I said earlier. When you're calling in and you're 3 states away, it's like, I got to get back there. And that's what they'll say all the time, is that, if you can bring it back in, we'll fix it. And there's no problem. We know exactly what's wrong. But we've got that problem of, I can't have a 1,000-mile tow. So we got to get this thing fixed. And sometimes like the shower, when the guy saw smoke when he was in the shower. So, whether it was, drivable or not at that point, in his mind, it was not. And so he had to have it fixed. I'm not leaving. And he was in a Walmart parking lot. I remember that. And I'm not going anywhere until this is fixed. So going back to the peace of mind thing there. So, but that's the ultimate goal, is, our tagline is, we'll get you back on the road again.
My guess is that the variety of places that you're going to purchase this product from the dealership, it's going to vary from dealer to dealer, just like, a certain RV model would, the same model would vary from dealer to dealership. But give us a ballpark what people can be expecting to invest in for the service.
Well, our retail rate is $229, and that's for a year. But if you buy it through a dealership, then we have discounts in place for the dealerships.
Okay.
So it's going to be substantially lower than that, because we want to have that network as part of our existing service network. So it ties closely in there. Like I said, it works very nicely with the extended warranties and that kind of stuff. So the idea was, we need to tie ourselves with those groups. So
now you had mentioned prior to the show that some of the dealers have actually provided as part of the service at no charge to the customer when they go in through F&I and they're buying their extended warranty, to say, by the way, we've got this other service that is complimentary for your first year, and they explain that to them, so they've got that buffer. And that's probably an extra level of security and peace of mind for the customer. But I think you hit on a good point before, because we're going to be talking to our dealers, and the dealers are going to have a lot of questions. The time that the dealer can save by not answering that phone, that frustrated customer. Yes, you want to. The frustrated. We all know the frustrated customer is going to find their way to the top of the pile. If they're bad enough, they're going to get to the president, but they're going to take time for the service writer and take time from the technician. What do you mean you can't fix it? What do you mean? Tell me what's wrong. So there's a significant cost savings and productivity improvement for the technicians and the people in the service department, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, that now, how do you quantify the savings? It's kind of a soft cost almost, but it does have tangible numbers attached to it. I mean, it just depends on, I guess, the region where they are. But if you're tying up half of a day, or even a quarter of the day from a technician that you're paying hourly, to go out and Google where they can help a customer that bought something, 6 months ago, in a place that they've never been. I mean, that, you're wasting money there. So money saved is money earned. So yeah, I mean, that's the idea, is that, and it builds value in that. It's a value added piece for that. So we've done this strategically on a number of places where our concept is not to go in and flood the market. Let's say in Kentucky, there may be 12 RV dealers, but we're choosing the ones that are geographically disparate from each other so that you can add value to that. So we've got one here in Lexington, across the street is another one. We've chosen this one because it has a better reputation, and they have that ability to add it into that as a value add to their customers, whereas the other ones don't. Yep. And that's the partnership that we are trying to develop with everybody, is that, this is a team effort. This is something that your customers, when they're coming back to buy again, that may be a piece that brings them back to you as opposed to across the street.
Yeah. Ryan Hadley had a very good question. Ryan's our tech. Do you strictly focus on the chassis side rescue, or do you offer coach side repairs, such as water heaters or propane or awning repair? Because the chassis side gets you from place to place. The other side gets you there comfortably.
It's both. Yeah. It's bumper to bumper. It's roof to tires. Any problem, we got that covered.
Okay. So what we would suggest, since you're both associate members, is that you guys get together, have your own side conversation. And if you get circumstances where you've got a client in New England or within Ryan's coverage area, Ryan's a pretty well-known and well-schooled technician. So
we already thought ahead on that one. On the Rescue My RV website, there is a service provider referral form. So consumers can recommend independent technicians, maybe the tow company in town. Maybe your town's got an outstanding tow company, like Hudson, Mass, where I just moved from, has an incredible heavy-duty tow company that can do diesel pushes and everything down to pop-ups. So if you go on the site of rescuemyrv.com, and Ryan, I would you do it for yourself. Go out there and fill in the form, and then they'll get in touch with you, and then they'll get you into their database so that if they get somebody stranded up here and they need a mobile tech, they'll know exactly where you are. Did I say something wrong, or is that okay? Was that a good explanation of the use of that form, Phil?
That's great. Oh, that's right on the money. And I think to kind of go back to Brent's point, talking about the value to the dealerships, it's not only making them more efficient, it also is just making the customers a lot happier. It's hey, here's your new vehicle. You're super excited. If something comes up, here's somebody to call who's going to get you squared away. You don't have to sweat it. It's almost like kind of air conditioning. You're not going to sweat over these things because we are here providing the service to you to make sure you have a good time, and they will rescue your vacation, your road trip, whatever. Brent's story about the gentleman down in Texas. I mean, he was heading to a wedding, and if he can't go anywhere, he's going to miss the wedding. And I know if that was my daughter there and I was stuck, it would not be a good situation. So I think that's the best part is, we help make operations more efficient, but also make customers happier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. What other types of examples do you have that customers that are into your system now have benefited from your service? And I want to make sure the customers, the fans understand that whether they buy it separately or they get it through their dealer, even if they're gifted it to the dealer, it doesn't cover the cost of repairs. It doesn't cover the cost of towing. So they have to get the repairs reimbursed through their extended warranty, or AAA has to reimburse them for the towing. So let's go over that one more time. I want to make sure, because this is such a unique service. It's going to be easy for people to misunderstand it at first.
Yeah, so that's what we were saying earlier. It enhances the manufacturer, or well, even manufacturers' warranties, because we have those groups. We took the top 10 by sales manufacturers, and they've got their own people that they authorized repair people. So we have them in our database. But with the extended warranties, that kind of thing, you have two different people. So you have people that will buy the extended warranties, and then we work with that because we have everybody we have is licensed and trained and experienced in RVs, so you can get reimbursed through that. And then the other type of person is somebody that just will never buy that, and that's okay too. And so they're accustomed to paying out of pocket for that kind of stuff. So it fits nicely with both of those, and the fact that you can get covered over here, or if you're willing to go on your own, now that you're getting the best people that are out there. There's no. We had somebody in what was it, Phil, Idaho, that said I can't remember what happened. It was something engine wise, and they paid a couple of $1,000s more than they should have, and they came to us and said, we wish we'd heard about you before that. Just because they were stranded, they didn't know who to call, and that ends up happening. So, with as an example of that kind of service that we provide, we've got the people we've discussed. We know what they charge. It's in our system. We've asked every single one of these for different situations. I mean, take the towing. It's a little bit tougher on the repair stuff, but they give we have guidelines on that. Even the towing, it's like Class A is this, Class B and C and so forth. So it's all covered, and it's all there for the agents at the call center to be able to pass that along when somebody calls in. So it's not the traditional way that people are accustomed to of, hey, I get a free tow. Like, well, no, I mean, you've got to pay for it. But with the traditional ways, you're paying for it one way or the other, whether it's a subpar tow or what have you. So to us, it just didn't make sense that way. It's like, let's just get the best people in the industry, and the pricing is fair from what we can gather from everybody, and they stick to that, and they have the best interest of the RVers in mind when they do all this. Yep.
Jerry Plant is here, and by the way, folks, any of you that are watching and have a question for our guest, now is the time to type it in, and if we get it before our time is up, we'll be glad to answer it for you. And even if the question is not answerable right here, I know our guest will do some research on it and get back to you directly. So with that being said, Jerry Plant says it's almost like what Tiffin owners have always had. They always have someone to call if they have a problem. Tiffin points them at someone who will help. And they're probably not Tiffin dealers, or may not have to be Tiffin dealers, but at least they're qualified to handle the coach that Tiffin provides. And in those cases, it's the big Class A.
And we do have, it's funny that they mentioned Tiffin, because we have a group that, unless you're on the inside, you wouldn't, by their name, you wouldn't know that they deal with RVs. And they've got 117 or so locations across the country, and they're all factory trained on Tiffin. So it's just, so that's what we were doing is trying to find those people out there where, I guarantee you unless you're a tech or you're somebody like you guys that are in deep in the industry, you would never even think of calling this place. They're a massive deal spread out over, I can't remember how many states. They're not in all 50, but they're in probably over half.
And you have a relationship with them?
Yes, they're in our network. So, okay. And they all, every technician there has been trained. Tiffin sends a trainer out to train everybody on their systems. So that's something that would have flown under the radar.
Yeah, I know you're relatively young, under a year old, but in addition to what you had mentioned before, are there any other customer testimonials that you have that you can tell us about that may add another dimension to why the service is a good service to have.
We actually had somebody 2-3 weeks ago who had a tire blowout and, let go and wiped out the kind of part of the coach and the tire, and they were on the side of the road and were pretty frustrated. And they're calling and we're like, well, what are we going to do? How soon we get somebody? We got them, got somebody on the phone, got them immediately over there, and was talking to a friend of mine who has an RV, who is not a Rescue My RV member. They had a similar situation, called one of the bigger companies, and they're on the side of the road in California with traffic blowing by them. They were terrified for hours and hours and hours. I think that's kind of the value to Rescue My RV. Yes, you may be paying out of pocket, but what's the value of being on the side of the 405 in California for 4 hours?
There's no value in being on the side of the 405.
Yeah.
Or the 10 or the 101.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
The
that's
value is getting the hell off it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, to me, that's the kind of stuff, and I love hearing stories about that. People calling us and are really genuinely panicked, and our service center, our call center, people are trained. Kind of, all right, are you safe? Is everything okay? So, can we get you to some set we're safe? What can we do to kind of calm you down? And that's very important to them, to make sure these are folks who, they are members, but they are people in potential danger. So we need to move as quickly as possible for those folks.
And another piece to that too is when you call them. So there are 3 options, right? So there's the tow, and then there's the mobile repair tech, and then there's a stationary repair shop. And those have set hours, but the other 2 don't. So, when you call in, say, I need a tow or I need a mobile repair, they put you on hold. They contact the nearest one, tell them what's going on, and then they connect the member with the person. So a lot of times what we see there is, talking actually to the person that's going to come out and do your work. That's a massive piece. And we've got another piece that we're working on. It should be live here pretty soon, where we have experts, because Bob had mentioned earlier about so many people now are first timers, and that when you buy it, you get the tutorial from the place the dealer, and then it may be a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, you've forgotten all that stuff.
Brent, I'm in total agreement with what you're saying, but it doesn't take 3 months to forget it. You are getting that walkthrough on the day that you're starting your trip. What are you thinking of? The trip, right? Or if this thing happens, because it's not supposed to happen on the first trip, but yet It happens so frequently. Jerry can probably tell you stories. Ryan can tell you stories with virtually brand new units that just weren't, put together properly, or when they were being shipped from their manufacturer, they had some bad roads to deal with. But you're not going to remember. I always tell people that they should tape their, record it, whether it's on their phone or whether it's on a video or whatever, but record that, because you ain't going to remember it, period.
Yeah, and that's why we've started this other piece, because we've heard so much about that, and there's such a demand for it that you don't need a technician to come out there and just explain something to you. And so we've got experts that we're vetting across the country, that our call center, you call in and say, hey, I'm not in trouble, but I've got a question. And then they connect you to one of these based on where you are and what time of the day it is. And then they can walk you through this stuff. These are experts that have been doing it for 20 plus years, and they've seen everything. So they can say, you got to plug that in over here, or whatever, just little things that people just don't know. And they heard it one time, like you said, 1 foot out the door, getting ready to go on vacation. So.
Yeah. Right. Or gosh, why won't my heat come on? What do I have to do to get the heat to come on when I'm on propane as opposed to on shore power? It's like, and people don't want to go next door and I don't know what I'm doing, but they're calling somebody and asking and getting help.
Yeah, I gotta whack Don a little bit. He must have snoozed off and taken a nap there, Don. I showed this before. On the site, Rescue My RV, there's a service provider referral form. So you can refer your favorite towing company or chassis company or independent mobile tech, your favorite dealer. Just fill that form out, and somebody from Rescue My RV will get back to you. And that's on the website on that. Brent, is the call center 24/7?
It is.
Right.
It's 24/7, 365, based in California.
Based in the U.S.
Yes.
And they speak English.
Human beings that speak
They do.
English.
Human
Right.
beings that speak English.
They speak better than those of us in Kentucky. So
Okay. They don't say y'all.
I wasn't going to say that. I thought we'd be kind of nice to you tonight.
everybody's got a Northeast accent except for me.
Our friend Sandy brings up something. You're probably not going to get the training on the walkthrough, but the walkthrough and a kiss goodbye. In some cases, if they're real busy, you ain't even getting the kiss.
Yeah, right. The kiss.
You're getting, see you later. Here's your hat. What's your hurry? Enjoy yourself. And by the way, don't bother putting the awning down because you really won't need to. So we're not going to show you how to put it back up. You know what? There's just so many things, and as Bob and I do other topics on this show as well as other topics on other shows, with the number of new people entering the RV lifestyle, something has to be done to allow them to make rookie mistakes and emerge from it stronger than ever, so that, number one, they don't do it again, but number two, they're still alive and don't do something crazy. Trying to, you hear people that, somehow, and why they'd ever do this, but they put the slide out in the gas station because they had to get to another part of the RV that was restricted area, but they don't tell the driver that the slide is out, and then they take the slide and the gas tank at the same time and go bye-bye. So crazy stuff like that. And we're certainly not saying that could be fixed in an hour with a Rescue My RV call.
Right.
How, as a new company, and the timing is, perfect. I mean, coming out of a pandemic, and we talk about it every week. We mention it somewhere on one of our shows, is this number of new first-time buyers. How are you getting the message out about your company? Are you just growing it organically, or where might we see some advertising or signs outside dealers, saying that, they provide Rescue My RV service? What are you doing going forward?
We are growing it organically. That's a key part of it, through folks like you. We are also doing some outreach through Facebook and that kind of, we've done some advertising on there. A lot of the dealerships that we're bringing on board, they have information not only in the sales department, but also in the parts and service. So if you're in parts and service, you can then get a brochure through them and get signed up through the parts and service department also. And so we're in the process of rolling that all out.
Have you reached out or had any communication with the RV Technical Institute in Elkhart, or the National RV Training Academy in Texas, or the Florida Training Academy? Because they're training independent reps and mobile technicians, and maybe there's a relationship that can be formed there.
We have not, but that's a great idea.
We'll be happy to make the introductions for you to know what you're doing, because Ryan's taken his certifications through the RV Technical Institute, and much like a lot of other companies, yourself and others, they've had to change the way they do business because of the pandemic, whether it be working from home, working from the road, finding other ways to get to their customers. And, this is a great opportunity for the RV consumer and for yourselves to start to reach them in different ways and to get a hold of these, a lot of the training programs at RVTI are online streaming programs. Mark Polk at RV Education 101 converted all of his materials to online streaming programs, and they complement something like this very nicely.
Yep. Yeah. And Frank brings up a very important point here. You don't want these people, these newbies, to give up on camping because they had one bad experience, when in fact it was, a flick of a switch or a replacement of a fuse. There are things that can go wrong with RVs because, we've said it over and over again, especially motorized. They are your house and your car riding down the highway together. And if anybody has been on interstate highways, you know that they're not in the best. They're not like they were built in the 60s or 70s or 80s. They're beat up.
Don's got another question there. He says, so I could recommend this to someone who sign up for this service as an RVer. Yes, there is a retail price. I'd rather have you recommend some dealers that can do it, Don, so that we can get this out quicker to people. But yeah, right on the website, there is a retail price. If they want to sign up and pay a retail price, if they don't have somebody in their area that is offering the service, you can certainly do that. Just send them to myrvrescue.com.
What is Sandy talking about?
Let me see. Sandy. In an earthquake and a hurricane at the same time. Oh, driving.
With the house.
The motorhome down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
Shaking, rattling, and rolling.
I was hoping she wasn't in one of those combo storms.
No, she's not.
That was the buy one, get one free. And Sandy, if now that we know that you're still here, where are you heading, Sandy, for the Frog Rally? Are you heading to Elkhart or are you heading to New England?
You missed that she was having a side conversation with Maria. She's going up to Goshen.
Oh, she's going to Goshen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sandy, no side conversations, just because you're going to be sent out into the hallway if you have a side conversation again.
Going to put her in the corner?
In the corner. No, out in the hallway, because Sandy would still talk from the corner. That kind of thing. But we love her, and she's going to be up and away.
That's right. At the Albuquerque, you want to find some consumers, guys. Sandy is working with RV Life and Lippert, and they're sponsoring the Albuquerque Balloon Festival in October. And I think she said 10,000 RVs are going to be out there. It's like it's on every RVer's bucket list. It is to go to Albuquerque. Have either of you been to it?
I have not.
I have not, and I was in the military. And
there's going to be a whole lot of RVers out there.
It's like the Kentucky Derby of ballooning.
Yeah, that's one thing I
a lot slower.
550 balloons, and 150 of them are special characters, not just an air balloon, but a special character. Yeah.
Wow. 1 million photos posted per day. Sandy says 10,000 RVs just in our lots. Now, what she means by that, I don't know.
Well, the RV lots that RV Life and Lippert are sponsoring certain RV lots. So if you're in one of those lots, that's where the 10,000 are, and there's more in the surrounding cities and towns and what have you.
Yeah. And she also throws in, and you can't attend as an RV company without going through me.
See?
All right.
I'll make sure you guys have her telephone number.
Well, see, that's going back to what you were asking about the advertising. We've implemented an ambassador program for people to, just like Sandy, so to go rep our company, and we make it worth their time. So
that's great.
We'll have to get with her on that. So anybody else, they can reach out to either one of us.
Yep, and that works well in the RV industry because RVers trust other RVers.
Yeah.
All right.
So we want to thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy day in another time. You're in Central Time Zone?
Eastern.
Eastern.
In fact, it is on the East Coast, John. It's right down there.
Yeah, but Louisville isn't.
No, Louisville's Eastern. It's just like
Nashville.
Go a little bit farther west than that, like E-Town, I think.
Yeah. Or Paducah.
Yeah, definitely Paducah.
Yeah, because Bob, when Bob was in high school, he was named the Duke of Paducah.
Whatever that is. Whatever that is.
It's like being king of the prom. He was the Duke of Paducah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brent or Phil, any closing words for our fans? And thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Phil, you want to wrap it up?
All right. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to close it out. Thanks, guys. We'll see you down the road.
Have a great day, everybody. Remember, welcome to Rescue Almost sounds like a TV show. Rescue My RV.
Rescue My RV.
Yeah.
This edition of RVing in New England was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.